Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Game and Gymnastics podcast. This week I'm joined by Luke James, a South African gymnast who competed in the African Championships in 2024, taking home the gold on floor and vault and bronze all around and on high bar. He's also got international training experience in the UK at my club in Birmingham and most recently in Nebraska, competing in the NCAA for multiple years. We'll talk about his time training in those different places, what he's learned in that time, and how leaps of faith and blind landings got him to where he is today. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Game of Gymnastics podcast. Thank you all for joining me this week. Thank you all for listening. Today I've got a very special guest. I've trained with him 2 years, way back when. Was it 2021, 2022?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's a South African gymnast now training at Nebraska in the United States in the NCAA. Very excited to have him on today. Very good friend of mine, Luke James.
What's up, Stoney? Thanks for having me, mate. Pretty
Thanks for
crazy
coming on.
full circle moment. We haven't caught up in a while, so this will be a good conversation, I reckon.
I know you from when you were training at Birmingham, but that was a good few years ago. But we'll start from earlier than that. How did you first get into gymnastics?
So I lived about 10 minutes away from my local gym, and we had a trampoline in my backyard. I think it's a pretty typical story, just a kid with a lot of energy. Loved jumping on the trampoline, taught myself a backflip, and my sister, I think, was in gymnastics at the time, and the gym was so close that my parents were like, okay, let's throw him in and see if he likes it, and never looked back, really.
So that was back in South Africa?
That was back in Durban, South Africa on the East Coast, and that was my home gym until I moved to the UK to train with you boys. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole story in between there, but that's basically the gist of it. Yeah. I grew up in Durban, South Africa on the East Coast. Started gymnastics when I was 7 or 8 years old at Pinetown Gymnastics Club. Actually, my first coach was from the US. His name was Jesse Kitson-Abelson, and he was a recent graduate of the NCAA system, and he just got offered this position to come coach in South Africa. So that was kind of my first introduction into the NCAA system, was through him at a very young age. So doing college in the US had always been on my mind since I was a kid. Fast forward though, 4 years training with Jesse, it was awesome. He kind of exposed me to the world of gymnastics outside of the small South African bubble that we had. So yeah, and then I was so fortunate to go to some great training camps with Lee and Joe and Josh, and they would come down to South Africa a couple times in my during my youth, and that's where I got to know Lee. Fast forward, and I'm about to graduate high school, and I send Lee an email and I say, I want a place to continue training gymnastics because I didn't really see a future for myself where I was. So yeah, I sent him an email, and Lee responded with, if you're serious enough to get on a plane and come here, you're more than welcome on my team. So I said, okay. And I think a couple of weeks later, I was on a plane out to Birmingham. And that started, I think, the beginning of a life-changing journey for me, was coming out to train with you guys and then ending up in the US 2 years later.
Nice. So what was that transition like, going from SA to Birmingham?
Definitely a big one. I was training alone in Pinetown, and that's, I think, the biggest reason why I felt like I needed to branch out. Don't get me wrong, I love that club. I love everyone there. I love my coach and the manager of the gym and my old teammates. They were absolutely amazing guys. But towards the end of my career, there was no one really doing gymnastics seriously. A lot of the guys I grew up training with were just coming in and doing ring strength and, just staying fit. So I really wanted a team. I wanted a group of lads to train with and push me. And they were also, everyone at Pinetown was super supportive of me, branching out and going out. So it was great to have that. So yeah, moving out to the UK was definitely a shocker. Just freshly 18 years old, moving out of the house, post-COVID, new environment, never been to the UK before. And I mean, you remember the stories. I was staying in some crazy houses and uh, near the Cadbury factory there down in South Burn. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Catching the train every day to practice. Going from one training session a day to two was a big jump for me. But I think being with you guys and getting pushed by, you know, the group of Birmingham boys really taught me a lot, and I think definitely set the foundations for my success here in the NCAA was just, the grind factor that you guys taught me, the team aspect, because that was something that was so great about Birmingham was that gymnastics is such an individual sport, but at Brum we really felt that team environment and everyone wanted the best for each other. So it's definitely a jump, but it was an amazing experience.
I mean, that was when the team at Birmingham was a lot bigger than it is now as well, because
Yeah,
you've had a couple of people leave and everything as well.
yeah,
Obviously, like Corbin, where he wasn't there, to be fair. But a couple of people join, a couple of people leave since then.
yeah,
But yeah, it was a big squad. It was
yeah.
a big squad when you were going.
Yeah, I think
Because we also had
when I came in, there was such a. I mean, I still look back. That group was insane. I mean, we had Fraz, Josh, Corb, Dom, you, Gabe. Who else? Towards the end, Melly, Dan. Um, yeah, no, such a good group. It was awesome.
What do you think like that experience helped you with in terms of now being in the NCAA to like the transition?
I still think about many of the things that you guys taught me. Specifically, I think the ones that come to mind is Josh and Joe Camlin when I was living with him. So I got to live with Joe for 6 months. Anyone who knows Joe Camlin knows that he does the 1% to the max. We would be in this apartment at night and he would be against the wall with a tennis ball rolling out his triceps and stretching at like 11 p.m. at night. I think one thing I got from Jones was this all in aspect of the sport where like every 1% counts. Everything he put into his body he was super careful about. Every minute outside the gym, he was making sure he was recovering, putting himself in the best position to be back in the gym the next day. And I still think about that all the time and apply that into my own life as much as possible. And then, grit, learning and watching that firsthand from, all of you boys. You guys have insane grit. And when things get tough, I think something that was so special about Birmingham was that everyone kind of pulled together when they saw someone was having a tough day. Or, when we're in the middle of the program, you can't feel your arms. You're totally just completely dead. And everyone's just uplifting you and pushing you to get the program done and hit your routines. I take that into my life daily still.
Hey guys, Winston here. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, please do leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you can. Also, if you want more gymnastic content from me, you can check out my Instagram at wpowell05 or my TikTok at Winston Powell 5. Thank you, and let's get back to the episode.
And what has the NCAA taught you?
Oh, that's a good question. The NCAA has taught me a lot of things. It's taught me how to balance my time effectively. As you know, doing university and sport is a very tough challenge. I'm an engineering major too, so I'm doing mechanical engineering while training full time, and it is a big struggle, and I have to be so efficient with my time. So kind of time blocking every day, making sure that no hour, no minutes is wasted, is essential to success in NCAA. Another thing it's taught me is how to compete. I think that's something I needed so desperately was just numbers of competition. And that was really tough in South Africa and in the UK is that I only competed a couple times a year. And that made those big competitions really overwhelming for me and really scary because I never really I had the numbers in the gym, but never really had the numbers on the stage. So, the NCAA taught me how to compete and how to compete well. And that's something I really missed. previously. But yeah, January to April, we compete, every weekend or every second weekend. It's a lot of competitions. It's a lot of pressure. The crowds are big. The energy is high. And, you're not just competing for yourself. You're competing for your team, which adds this extra element of responsibility, which creates this pretty awesome environment to compete in. And I felt it last year when I went to African Championships, and that was like my first big comp back as an individual. And to be honest, the nerves I felt there were nothing compared to what I feel here in the NCAA, walking up for a team final and knowing that my routine counts and that I've got 20 guys, relying on me and trusting me, is definitely such a benefit to the NCAA.
So obviously when you've moved, you've like interacted with a whole different group of people. And then so you've got like different teams here, there and everywhere. How did you find sort of moving into that group and moving into that team and sort of melding with everyone in there?
I think I'm very lucky that I got to experience Birmingham beforehand, because I got a taste of what being in a team felt like. Prior to that, the sport's so individual. And in South Africa, besides our very rare team competitions, it was kind of every man for themselves. That's often how it felt. So going to Brum and, training there for the amount of time I did really helped the transition into a team environment, because I already got a taste and a feel for that at Birmingham. But it wasn't all easy because, there's 20 guys here. It's a lot of guys. Everyone is super talented. Everyone is really good at gymnastics. But getting everyone to buy in and be on the same page is definitely something we struggle with. I think all teams struggle with. But it's an important part of success, I think, as a team in the NCAA. And it's something that I think Nebraska's done really well over the years. But yeah, kind of buying into that team culture, buying into that team environment of accountability, hard work, is such an important factor in the NCAA to success. But I definitely say that my background in the UK set me up for success in that position in the NCAA, because I got a good taste of that. And I think at the time, I didn't really see any other individual clubs having that team environment like we had at Brum. I think that was something special that we had there. So
what would you say buying into that team mindset looks like?
The NCAA is obviously a blend of school and so university and sport. And our success as a team is more than just what we do in the gym and what we do when we compete. Our success in the team is community service, doing well in the classroom, going to class, getting good grades. These all play a factor into how our team is viewed in the grander scope of, Nebraska athletics. So we really try and maximize every single avenue we can. So we got 20 guys and we were all trying to get everyone to get good grades, work hard in the gym, don't be late for lift at 6 o'clock in the morning, do your homework, don't miss assignments. These are all things that kind of play into our team as a whole. So it's so much more than gymnastics here, which is definitely a benefit, but at the same time, it's a real struggle. I think for all student athletes is that balance and trying to maximize every avenue of the sport and of the environment we're in. But one thing I will say is that the NCAA is such a well-supported system. Here in Nebraska, we have everything you could possibly want and need to succeed. We have academic advisors, everything from a medical standpoint is covered, and you've got the best of the best to help you with anything you need. It's all here for us to succeed. It's just about, on an individual level, who's willing to do what it takes to maximize on it.
Before we started recording, that you train Sunday to Friday. Sorry.
Yeah.
What does that normal training week look like for you, like times wise, and then also mixed in with the classes and camps and anything else that you've got going on?
I'll give a typical day in the fall semester, which is coming up. The summer's a little strange because people are in and out, going back home and whatnot. But in the fall semester, the typical day looks like we lift weights at 7 a.m. So it's about an hour of lift 3 times a week. And that's kind of our preseason build. So we do that in the morning, and then normally it's straight to class depending on your major. But so lift from 7 to 8, straight to class. You got class mostly all day until 1:30. And then we head to the gym and we train about 2 till 5:30 or 2 to 6. So it's one session, about 4 hours a day with a morning lift. But we don't really have an end time here. So depending on how many events you do, you could be in the gym till 7 if you wanted to be. You could be in the gym till 5. It kind of depends on how many events you do and I guess how much work you put in. But I'd say a typical day is about 2 to 6 ish. Yeah. And we do that that looks pretty much the same every day, except Sundays and Wednesdays are more light days. So our Sundays are completely dedicated to dismounts and sticks. So on a Sunday, we'll go around to every event, do last skill, dismount, stick. And we do that as a team and we play a little game with it. But I mean, in the new code, how important sticking is, especially in the NCAA, like that's something we really emphasize here. So we literally dedicate a whole day to dismounts and sticking.
Nice. I was going to ask, what is that a new thing? Is that just because of the new code, or is it just a general thing that's been there all the time?
So the stick bonus has always been in the NCAA. So that's, I think, something that the FIG adapted from the NCAA system. So it's something that we've always done. Now in the new code, if you take a 3/10 hop on a dismount versus a stick, that's a half a point. That's a 4/10 swing on a score, which is massive from routine to routine, especially when you got 4 guys competing up on 6 events. That's, a lot of routines. So 24 routines to be exact. So it's about 5 points. So yeah, it's something we really do emphasize. And I think it's something they've always done, but it's what we've done since I got here.
How do you balance being a student athlete?
It's definitely not easy. I think it is dependent on, your course of study and your workload day to day. It's easier for some and harder for others. Like I said, I'm doing engineering at the moment, and it's a massive struggle to balance it all, especially the mental aspect of it. I come straight out of a 4-hour stretch of class, and I've got assignments loading up on my back, but I've got to go into the gym and focus on gymnastics. And I struggle to separate that a lot of the time. I'll walk in and I'll be stretching and I'll be thinking about, a differential equation I couldn't solve earlier, or, some rubbish like that. So it's definitely a struggle mentally separating gymnastics and school, and balancing it is just, honestly, it's just a hustle, like late nights and early mornings and a bunch of coffee is my regimen to getting it done. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle.
Not entirely sure how healthy of a habit that is, but
I don't know how sustainable it is, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's got you're in uni right now, right?
No, I deferred.
You deferred for now,
Yeah.
but even I look at Josh doing architecture. That's like one of the most time intensive degrees you can do, and him doing it with full-time gymnastics is so impressive, considering he doesn't have the support system academically that the college system has here in the US. Yeah, guys like that know firsthand how hard it is. But that's what's so great about the NCAA is that they're aware of how hard it is, and they give you every single tool you could possibly ask for to succeed. There is, there's tutors, there's access to tutors for any class. There's academic advisors that will help you time block your days. There is, there's countless resources to take advantage of to make it doable, and I truthfully think if I wasn't in this system, I don't think I would be able to do it, outside of this system. And that's what makes it so unique and pretty awesome.
I mean, I've talked to quite a good few people who have been to university and trained at the same time. Jacob Edwards, Dan Smiley,
Yep.
Josh Nathan, obviously, he's
Yeah.
come out of the back of uni as well now. Well, he did last year, and then the other two I just mentioned were the year before. Well, no, were this year, sorry.
Yeah.
And then Sam Mustafi as well. He talks a lot about uni on the one I did with him, and they all agree like it is tough. It is really, really tough.
Yeah.
To be able to manage it all, like get through it, and like get all the work you need to do done.
Yeah.
And balance it all with training is ridiculous. There's no quick and easy way to get through it and get out the other end of it. So
yeah, no, I agree. Like, and to those guys, you know, Sam, Jacob, Dan, massive respect to those guys. I know how hard that is, but yeah, no, like huge respect to anyone who's doing that in the UK or honestly anywhere else in the world without a proper support system from their uni. Like, huge props. I know that's tough. Yeah.
So stepping a little bit away from the NCAA now. You mentioned that you went to the African Champs. What did it mean to you to be competing on that stage and get the titles that you actually got?
Wow, yeah, that was a great competition. It was my first African Champs in I think 2 years because I skipped the year before. It was also an Olympic qualifying event, which kind of added this extra pressure. I kind of knew that I was in for a long shot because you know, the Egyptians are really strong. But I was out there with that in the back of my mind the whole time. I think, you know, that top all around spot does gain that berth to the Olympic Games. But like I said, I knew I was in for the longest shot on that. The main thing I wanted to do was just represent my country well and bring back some medals. And I knew that I had that shot on floor and vault. And yeah, it ended up being great championships for me. I finished up third all around, third on high bar, and I won floor and vault. So yeah, no, absolutely amazing experience. So glad to bring back some hardware for the green and gold, and you know, I'm super looking forward to getting back out there on the world stage too. We've got the last World Championship trial in a couple weeks now, so I'm just gearing up for that, and hopefully you'll see me at the World Championships this year for my first, you know, World Championships. Yeah.
Nice. Now, obviously, when I was training with you, you were doing all around. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, still doing all around. Never stopped. I think it's definitely a struggle. You know my struggles on horse. How far that's come. So yeah, I'm really quite proud of my progress on my weakest events because they've always been very weak. But I've since getting here, I've gotten a lot stronger on rings, and my coach is a great basics coach, and he has drilled the pommel essentials into my skull. So I now have made a lot of leaps and strides on those 2 week events, and I have a good good potential to score in the all around now.
What's your favorite apparatus to train, and is it different to your favorite apparatus to compete?
I think my favorite apparatus to compete is probably floor, mainly because it's the one I'm best at objectively. To train it, like, it moves around all the time. I know you probably experience this. Like, whatever event I'm like learning new skills on at the moment, or like whatever events I'm making the most gains on, that's normally my favorite. Like right now, it's probably P bars, just because I feel like I'm improving quite a bit in it. So, but yeah, it moves around. Like even sometimes it's horse, which is crazy. But yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, no, it does.
It's often like the piece you're doing well on as well. I found like if you're just like struggling with an apparatus, like I'm normally pretty good at high bar, but when I'm sucking at it on a specific day, week, whatever, it's not as good.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Do you have a favorite or like most memorable routine competition?
I'd say for South Africa, my most memorable would be last year at the African Champs. The vault final, sticking both my vaults was something pretty awesome. You know, I went the whole NCAA season competing vault and had some great vaults, but never stuck one. And just after the NCAA season, went out to Morocco to compete for South Africa and the African champs. Made the vault final and stuck both my vaults. And, I think I had like an average of a 9.6 execution on those 2 vaults or something. But like it was just like a culmination of all the hard work and reps from the NCAA kind of just peaked right there at that moment. Same on floor. That floor routine and the floor final was, just this great culmination of hard work throughout the year and numbers in the NCAA. Finishing with a 14, 14-4, 14-5 last season was just like a cherry on the cake. Taking the title was absolutely amazing. So those were, I'd say, my highlights for the South African team. Last season, so not this past season, the one before, throughout the whole prep, I competed floor and vault every meet for Nebraska. And I didn't miss a single routine, which I was super proud of. And I also only missed one routine in practice through the whole prep. And that was like 6 months on floor and vault. So, I look back at that, and that routine was really comfortable for me, but also just like it was such a rewarding sprout of time, just like all that preseason work and that strength and conditioning, keep my body healthy, and then being able to do loads of routines throughout the weeks and months of the whole season, and being so confident that I was not going to miss a routine because I had never missed one in practice was like probably the best feeling and most rewarding feeling I had ever felt. And the one that I did miss was the week before our final competition, the biggest championship, was the one routine I missed in practice. But I never missed when it counted, so that's what matters.
That is actually crazy. Like, it's the not missing it in prep. Like in competition, you're like, you've peaked, you're at the right sort of time.
Yeah.
But in training,
I never missed one. Crazy.
That's insane.
I actually didn't even realize until after the season, until I missed that first routine before our NCAA championships, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the first routine I missed all year in practice. So
Wild.
Yeah. Last year was a little different, but the year before that routine was dialed, and I was just so comfortable and confident in that set, which is a great feeling to have, and I wish I can feel that in everything.
That's really cool. Yeah. What are you working on now then, in terms of like upgrades for routines? Because obviously you're not going to stick to the routine that you can do every single time, for the whole year.
So the new code has definitely been a struggle for me on floor. Prioritizing double flips is not my strongest point, so I've had to do a lot of adaptation over the last couple months. This last NCAA season, I changed my routine, I think 3 times, trying to find a balance between consistency and execution and difficulty, and kind of settled around the 5.0 range for last season. But I knew that wasn't going to be enough for this upcoming season and for the World Championships. So I've stepped that up a lot, and I've had a lot of upgrades in the bag, but I was kind of competing a safe routine and one that I knew that I could put a good score down for the team. So we're looking at, I've been doing a lot of double straights, and I'm looking to upgrade to double front pike, and it should be around like a mid 5.6, 5.7, hopefully.
Nice.
That's the goal for October, and going forward into hopefully Commonwealth Games, looking to push that high 5 range on floor. So that'd be awesome. And then triple on vault and handspring double front is in the works. Triple is just about there, but just need some reps.
You were seen you working at it even in Birmingham years ago.
It's been way too long. It's about time I just do it, mate. It's just that vault. It's just a scary one, isn't it? It's every half twist is just an added level of danger to the body. So just going safe too, and keeping my body working.
I've started working triple, to be fair now. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's so much different to 2.5, and you wouldn't expect it to be so different to 2.5.
Completely different.
Like you got to work your heels so much more on the 2.5, And you almost got to do the opposite on a triple. You got to like stub it really hard, so you just go up and down, no rotation.
I mean, I could literally jog into a 2.5, drive my heel super hard and land it every time. But a triple twist, just half an extra twist, it completely changes the whole dynamic of the vault. And it's like going from a 3.5 to a quad on floor. It's like that extra half twist is like a 3.5. I could do it from, one step. But a quad, I need everything to be perfect to get it around. And that's exactly how the 2.5 to triple feels. It's this massive jump. And yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But I think starting to figure it out well. So it's going to be there. It's going to be there soon.
If you're like me, you struggle with rips on your hands, seemingly at the worst possible times, like in a competition prep, for example. I'm proud to partner with Wad & Dunn, who have a solution for us gymnasts to help us train and protect our hands in the process. I especially recommend their rip guards for apparatus using grips or guards, whatever you want to call them, high bar, rings or A-bars, and their 3-step hand care kit to make sure your halluses are strong and rip resistant without making them soft. Use my code POWEL at checkout or my link in the description for 10% off at checkout. Now, back to the episode. And what about the other apparatus? You pushing much for difficulty increases on those?
Yeah, so where should I start? Horse is this fine line between, for me, just being able to get a score and pushing the difficulty, because horse has always been my weakest event, and definitely the downfall in previous years has been like the downfall of my all-around score, because one disaster on horse and I'm completely gone in the all-around. But I found a pretty good routine that I did last year at African Champs, and it scored about, like a low 12, which for me was just a complete win. Was like, okay, that's a score that I can count and it's workable for a good all-around score. But yeah, I've just started to add some, like a E Stockley flop and a D Russian. So it's just a pretty basic routine, like shear, check, E Stockley, D Russian, mag shift dismount. But trying to do that well and put a score on the board is my number one priority on horse. Then rings, I don't have a D swing to strength or static right now, which is, I think a lot of people are in that boat, like a lot of all-arounders who aren't rings guys. I've been working hard on the top planche, but it needs some time. It definitely needs some time. So right now I just have to take the 2 crosses and take the neutral. But the goal on rings 2 is just trying to make the swings and the position of the crosses as good as I can to kind of minimize that execution, so that best scoring potential. So I have a similar strategy on horse and rings, is just get a good solid score that can count, because I know I'm not going to be doing anything special on those events anytime soon. They need a lot more work, and hopefully I can like offset those scores with floor and vault. And then P bars, I have a pretty good base set, which I think is a high 14. But it can score, I think, relatively well, because the skills are super comfortable and I can execute them well. But I'm looking at right now adding a peach half and maybe a Bilazurchev. I don't know, kind of looking into some different options. But yeah, that high 4, low 5 range is kind of where I want to be right now. And then on high bar, it's kind of just a stock standard set with no crazy connections, but just tuck half, Coleman, Kovac, straight, straddle, basic set, but try to put a good score down too. And that's kind of where I'm at, like mentally right now, is just figuring out that balance between difficulty and consistency and confidence, because I definitely compete well when I'm confident in my routines. I'm not very good at throwing in some new skills that aren't tried and tested, because I think my brain works in straight lines, and I need to have the numbers behind me to really feel and attack my gymnastics. I know like some guys on my team are just absolutely amazing competitors, and they can put it down when it counts. And I like to say I can do that, but I need the numbers behind me to have the confidence to go in and attack a routine.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
How have you found doing a D above bar on P bars?
No, right now I'm taking that neutral. I've just got a D arm. But I can do a straddle front, which we're kind of looking at putting in after the Suarez. So Suarez front up, straddle front. And that's why I've also been working the Billy, is because like for me, that D above bar is such a hard one to fill because I'm not a Makuts guy. I'm not a D arm guy at all. I can just do a D arm, just about do it. And that's only recently because that skill has been giving me issues for years. So that's something, I'm working really hard on too, is to fill that element group, and that's hopefully going to be a straddle front or a Billy in the next couple of weeks.
So what are your big goals now?
So internationally, right now, I'm thinking towards, I'm only thinking to Commonwealth Games. That's kind of when I'll be graduating uni too, and then I'll reevaluate what I want to do with the sport and when that time comes. But right now, I would love to compete at the World Championships later this year and make the team for the Commonwealth Games next summer. That would be amazing. I would Commonwealth Games has always been a huge dream of mine, and love to go back to Scotland, right?
Glasgow, yeah. Scotland.
Go to Glasgow and compete there with the GB boys and the Canadian boys. And I've got a great teammate, Yanni, who I think will also be gunning for a spot on Team Canada. And hopefully I'll know some of the guys on the GB team. So that's my number one goal right now, and I'm locked in focus on the Commonwealth Games. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I don't quite know what the GB team or English, Welsh, Scottish team will look like for commies. Like Welsh and Scottish will be like from their squads, obviously, and then whatever GB lads from them like sort of slot in.
Yeah.
But English team and then also the GB team for the Euros, which is at exactly the same time. I'm not 100% sure how that will work. I don't know which one will be like the stronger team, the weaker team. They said Euros will be the stronger team, but I really don't know.
Because they're taking two different teams to Euros and commies, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that I pegged that as my best chance to go to a major anytime soon. So
wait, so two different teams to Euros and commies, or Euros and Worlds?
Euros and commies.
Euros and commies, okay. And they say the stronger team's going to go to Euros?
That's my understanding, but I may be incorrect.
Okay. Yeah, no, like that's a pretty awesome thing that I think GB's doing, is that gives more guys an opportunity to make those big majors, because I mean it's so competitive for you guys to make a major team, and especially with like some of the GB guys that have just come up. I've been watching on Instagram, like Great Britain is a unit, and like there's
strong.
Yeah, really strong, and there's a lot of guys that have come up that are gonna be hard to compete with. I just from watching from the outside, I see some clips and I'm like, wow, these guys are insane. So, but good. That's good for the GB system, though. Having numbers and lots of guys to choose from and a big squad I think shows the strength in Team GB.
I think both teams are going to be like really strong, like for sure. And yeah, that's kind of crazy to think, because it will be 5 guys in a reserve for Euros, 5 guys in a reserve for commies, and they're both going to be completely different.
Yeah.
In this Olympic cycle, are you going to be going for Olympic qualification?
Going back to what I was saying earlier with commies, is I'm kind of just thinking to commies right now, and then when I get there, I'm going to cross that bridge. This looks like it's going to be my last year in the NCAA, which will be next winter, so January to April. And then commies after that in July or August, whenever it is. And then I'm going to be graduating soon, and I won't be in the NCAA anymore, and I'll have to make that decision about whether I'm going to keep going or pack it in. I don't know. I haven't decided now, but I've kind of just told myself that after commies, I'm going to cross that bridge and make that decision. But yeah, I love the sport and I would love to keep going, but it's also permitted on, how much my body can take. Definitely struggling with the small injuries and small things has been, catching up to me from over the years. So trying to stay healthy is a huge challenge and struggle. But that's the number one priority. And then, after commies, I'll cross that bridge, see what we can come up with, or otherwise I will throw myself into my professional career in engineering or whatever I decide to do. So,
what's something that you've learned that you think other gymnasts could benefit from?
The biggest thing I've learned in my time in gymnastics is to take the leap of faith. I think I've been pretty good at that over my years, and it's landed me in almost the best possible scenarios I could have asked for. The leap of faith to come to Birmingham, and then the leap of faith to come to the US. It's kind of just these blind chances that I've taken that have just put me in the best scenarios I could have asked for, and I'm so grateful for them. But taking that leap of faith and that risk to do something that, people might say is risky, or say, you're just going to leave everything to go and do that. Like, yeah, take it, throw yourself if you want to do something, throw yourself at it and see where you land up. And if you really want it, I think, the universe will give it to you. And if you're willing to take those risks and really throw yourself at it, it will happen. And I think that's something I've really felt over my years, is that, the risks I took really paid off.
What's one thing that you really want to do before you leave the sport?
There's a couple, actually. I would love to compete a quad on floor. It's a skill I've been able to do for a couple of years now, but it's not worth competing because it's an F. Just do a double A, like a double straight full for the same value. It's way easier. But I would love to compete that, just to say that I've done it. So a few people have done it, and it's such I think a crowd pleasing skill. That's something I would love to do before I leave the sport. And something else is I want to do a Bruce Norrie on pommel. That's been my dream skill since I was like probably, I don't know, 9 years old, 10 years old. And actually, the first time I met Lee, I couldn't even do a single handle circle, but I asked him to teach me a Bruce Norrie. He laughed at me, but yeah, I want to do a Bruce Norrie before I leave. Just one. Just in practice or whatever. I'll be very happy if I could do that.
Nice. It is a cool skill. It's a very cool skill.
It's not a skill, yeah.
Now that you've experienced the podcast, who do you think would be a good fit, and who do you think I should get on next?
Okay, I would say, so I had a teammate here, Yanni Chronopoulos, Canadian Olympic alternate. He was also at Nebraska, great gymnast. He just finished up pretty successful Pan Am Games, and he's doing great things for Canadian gymnastics now. I think he'd be a great guest. He's a very knowledgeable guy. Has taught me so much over my time here in Nebraska, and I think anyone who can get a little piece of Yanni's brain is lucky, because he's a smart guy and he knows his stuff.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you all for listening to the Game of Gymnastics podcast. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.